Hi, I'm Layla. My grandmother died in a car accident. My father received $600,000 in compensation from the culprit and used that money to build something that made the entire village jealous. Outside the crematorium, I overheard the perpetrator laughing on the phone, saying only $600,000 to settle the matter. What a bargain. Do not worry, our secret will be buried forever with that old lady. Before we begin, let me know if you have ever come across any spiritual stories. If so, please comment below, and I will read them in the next video. Before the accident, my grandmother called me, but I did not pick up. I was busy with a graduate school interview. By the time I called back, no one answered. I did not think much of it. Grandma was always like that, busy with work, never checking her phone. People often said, that is just how she is. If something was important, she would call back the next morning. But the next morning, the call came from Chu Duong. His voice sounded distant yet painfully real. Lila, your grandma was in a car accident. She is gone. You did not know. The news of her death did not even come from my parents. It came from someone in the village. I was a child raised in the countryside living with my grandmother, and we were very close. Everyone knew she was like a mother to me. Her death felt like a slap across my face. I frantically caught a bus back to the village, but deep down, I felt something was off. Even though my relationship with my parents was not close, how could my father not tell me about something this big? On the way back, I called my father over a dozen times, but he did not answer. When I finally arrived home and saw white mourning banners hung in the yard with funeral preparations underway, it hit me that Grandma was truly gone. In that moment, I collapsed to the ground, my body going limp. Neighbors helped me up, consoling me. Do not be too sad. Your grandma lived a long life. I could not believe it. I turned to them. My grandma was only 67, she was still spry. How can you call that a long life? But I was even more shocked by the envious looks from some villagers. Wow, she passed away and left her granddaughter a fortune. What a blessed life. That is when I realized why my father had not told me he was afraid I would interfere with his business. I remembered how my father had always been calculating with me. He opposed my pursuit of higher education, wanting me to graduate quickly, find a job, get married, and provide a dowry. Once you are married, where will your dowry come from? Your younger brother will need money to get married too. Where will his dowry come from? He even blamed Grandma, saying she encouraged me to be close to her and distant from the family. But it was he who, when I was born, left me with Grandma to raise. My parents never truly cared for me a single day. Grandma always told me, do not hold grudges dear. No matter how your parents treat you, focus on your studies. Once you succeed, it will drive them crazy. Do not worry about money, Grandma has got it covered. She worked as a janitor at a vocational school, earning $1,500 a month. She spent only $500 on herself, saving the rest for me. She always said, I will save for your dowry. The Thomas family's granddaughter must never be looked down upon. Her voice still echoed in my ears, but she was gone. From now on, no one would care about me, ask if I had enough money, or worry about my dowry. Thinking of this, I broke down sobbing. I knew my father had always coveted Grandma's money because she saved it all for me, never giving him a cent. He even argued with her over it, accusing her of favoritism and saying she did not leave a penny for my brother. When she is gone, do not expect my son to burn offerings for her, he had said. Now that she was truly gone, killed in a car accident, the culprit paid compensation. My father, afraid I would demand a share, hid the news from me. Wiping away my tears, I carried my anger and rushed to the crematorium. Chu Duong drove me there, recounting the details of the accident. The driver, Jack Ryder, was the son of Lance Ryder, chairman of a pharmaceutical conglomerate. After the accident, Jack called the police himself, claiming it was dark, and he did not see my grandmother on the road. In a panic, he hit the gas instead of the brake, causing the accident. Since he did not flee, was not drunk, and was not on drugs, the case was deemed an unintentional traffic accident. Last night, Jack's lawyer met with my father. After some haggling, my father agreed to accept $600,000 in compensation. The money was transferred immediately and my father signed a waiver. So the culprit will not face any consequences. I could not believe it. Chu Duong did not answer, just stayed silent. My grandmother's life was traded for $600,000. My body felt cold like a volcano ready to erupt. Before entering the crematorium, Chu Duong pulled me aside and whispered, "Lila, I know you are furious, but your grandma would not want you fighting with your father right now." I understood. Grandma lived an upright life, and no matter how awful my father was, she would not want me to cause a scene in front of the village. I told myself to stay calm, but when I saw my father, I could not hold back. He was dressed neatly, bowing respectfully, and smiling at someone. I followed his gaze. It was Jack Ryder. My father looked at me coldly. "Why are you here? Who told you you being here will not change anything? That money is for your brother's marriage. Do not even think about touching a cent." My grandmother was dead, and my father was bowing and smiling at her killer, refusing to let me see her one last time. I clenched my teeth, suppressing my rage, and chased after Jack Ryder. I had to quench the volcano inside me. But then I overheard him laughing on the phone. $600,000 for peace of mind. What a steal. Do not worry, our secret is buried forever with that old lady. I froze. The May sun was blazing, but I felt ice cold. I stood waiting for Chu Duong to find me, and only when I felt the warmth of his hand did I realize I was still alive. Back at the crematorium, I confronted my father. I told him straight Grandma did not die in an accident. Jack Ryder might have killed her on purpose. They killed for money and you sold her out for money. Does she have to die in vain? My father glared and shouted, "Are you crazy? What does the money have to do with me? I am not taking your money, and you do not have a cent, so what is it to you?" I stared at him in disbelief. Jack Ryder might have deliberately killed his own mother, and all my father cared about was whether I would demand the money. He yelled, "Stop talking nonsense. If you do not have money, go beg on the streets." Looking at his cruel, shameless face, I felt utter disgust. I should not have expected anything from this man. He did not deserve to be Grandma's son or my father. I turned and left his furious voice echoing behind me. Damn brat, always meddling and bringing bad luck to the family. I went to the police station to talk to an acquaintance in the traffic division. He told me that in cases like this, proving whether it was an accident or intentional murder was extremely difficult. I asked if the victim's family refused the compensation. Could Jack Ryder face criminal charges? He sighed. Unless there is particularly severe evidence, most traffic accidents result in a maximum of 3 years in prison. Jack Ryder reported himself, showed a good attitude and actively compensated. Even if your family does not accept the outcome is unlikely to change. In other words, I could not rely on the law to get justice for Grandma. If so, I would have to find another way. I did not want to go home, so I went to the bank to see Harper Tucker. With teary eyes, she handed me a savings book. She said before Grandma died, she had saved $30,000 for my next semester. Harper explained that in our small rural area, to avoid taxes, many chose to receive pensions via mobile apps or cash. Grandma did not use apps and always took cash, depositing it in the bank immediately. That day, she had saved enough to deposit $30,000 into a savings account for my studies. She did not dare bring the passbook home, fearing my father would take it, so she left it with Harper. I clutched the passbook, sobbing. That night, I cried until I was exhausted, falling asleep past midnight. Near dawn, I dreamed of Grandma. She looked at me, her voice full of worry. "Lila, I have not given you that money yet. If you get married without a dowry, what will you do?" She spoke, tears falling. I woke up, startled, tears still on my face. I rushed to the road where Grandma had the accident. I did not know why I went there, but perhaps it was fate. At that very spot, I uncovered a truth that chilled me to the bone. Grandma was hit on a rural road after leaving the rural bank. I stood there staring at the faded chalk marks on the ground, trying to imagine her final moments. What was she doing? What was she thinking? She finished work at 5 o'clock in the evening, rushed to deposit money before the bank closed at 6 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, she had completed the transaction and left. With the money safely deposited, she would not have been in a hurry on her way home. I pictured her figure, then recalled the last time we spoke. That day she told me to focus on my graduate school entrance exams and not worry about money. This old lady has got money. My granddaughter can study whenever she wants, for as long as she wants. I will support you, she said. I teased her. I do not have money, but you do. She laughed. Just a few bucks. Keep it and spend it. This old lady used to love dressing up when she was young. Now I should dress up a bit to outshine Mrs. Lou next door. Look at her long hair so tacky. She says she was the village belle back in the day because she loved dressing up. Grandma laughed brightly proud, saying, "This old lady is half in the grave already. If I dress up too much, your grandpa will not rest easy." I laughed and she laughed too. She never spent money on herself, but was always ready to spend it on me. Finally, she said, "All right, even if I spend money, I still have to save for your dowry. Your father is useless, you cannot rely on him. I need to set aside a sum. If you get married without a dowry, the Thomas family will be laughed at." She was not afraid of being mocked herself. She was afraid I would not have a dowry, and could not hold my head high when married. Yet she had saved half the dowry for me already. She must have been so happy. On her way home, she probably walked with her head high, her face glowing. My grandmother, Lan Anne, was a renowned beauty in her youth, oval face, high nose, small red lips. When she smiled, her lips curved slightly, her crescent-shaped eyes sparkling. Everyone called her a beauty, but her life was full of bitterness. Still, she never complained, always wearing a radiant smile. She used to say, "A day of smiling is a day of crying is a day." Why not smile and live? Live vibrantly, live fully. At 67, despite wrinkles, every line on her face was a smile. She walked with a smile, perhaps, thinking of stopping by the market to buy tofu, mixing it with green onions and sesame oil at home. Or maybe she was thinking she had saved half my dowry, and once she saved enough, she could rest waiting for the day I would marry, wearing the beautiful dress I would buy for her, becoming a proud elder. But then a car sped toward her, striking her down. Her lifetime of hardship ended just as she was about to enjoy peace, cruelly taken by a cold piece of metal. Thinking of this, my heart ached. I looked at the white chalk marking the accident scene. Days had passed and it was fading. I stood there crying endlessly. Suddenly a voice spoke behind me. "Why are you crying, lady?" I turned and saw a child who looked ordinary, nothing unusual. I was about to leave, but the child sighed and muttered, "That old lady flew so high that day. Really impressive." I froze. Could this child be a witness? After a moment, I hurriedly asked, "Did you see the old lady get hit and thrown?" The child nodded. I also saw there was not just a man in the car. There was a woman too. When the old lady flew, the woman laughed. She looked so happy. I clapped and laughed too. The child frowned at me. "But why are you crying? Was it not fun?" I stood rigid. This child did not understand what death meant. But the woman in the car, did she also not understand death? Why was she laughing? Trembling, I asked, "Do you remember who was driving? Do you recall the woman's face?" The child shook its head, but insisted there was a woman in the car. I immediately reported it to the police. Soon officers arrived at the scene. They reviewed the child's statement and frowned, saying, "This child has intellectual disabilities. Everyone knows that. Her testimony cannot be used as evidence." My heart sank. I called my police acquaintance who confirmed the case file did not mention another person in the car. There were no surveillance cameras in the area, and no evidence suggested anyone else was present. But I did not believe the child was lying. I believed this was Grandma guiding me to find her killer. Grandma was a woman with clear loves and hates, despising evil. She was surely waiting for me to avenge her. That day, it poured rain. I ran frantically through it, soaked to Harper's house. On the way, I kept reminding myself to stay calm and think clearly. The woman in the car was likely the one Jack Ryder called at the crematorium. To find her, I first had to uncover their secret. Chudong and I devised a plan, as I would need his help. I know I am troubling you, but I have no one else to turn to. I will hire you $300 a day. I will owe you and pay later, I said. Chudong looked at me for a long time. I feared he would refuse, but he nodded slightly. Not bad. A friendly price. Clearly he did not want the money, but said a friendly price to ease my guilt. My heart, like an erupting volcano, cooled slightly thanks to his words. My father was a scoundrel, and there were many bad people, but thankfully I had Chu Duong. After Grandma's funeral, I began tailing Jack Ryder. I suspected the woman in the car was his mistress, though he had no official girlfriend. That made the relationship even more suspicious. Our surveillance team included me, Chu Duong, and his friend Henrietta. Henrietta was a jobless drifter. When Chu Duong was busy, Henrietta took over driving to follow Jack. But after 2 weeks of round-the-clock surveillance, we saw no woman with Jack Ryder. Every morning he left home before 8 o'clock in the morning. If he had a social event, he returned by 7:10 in the evening. We never saw any woman in his car. External surveillance was not working. The only way to find clues was to get close. So I decided to pose as a maid to infiltrate the Ryder household. Maids cannot hide secrets. I befriended the Ryder's current maid while grocery shopping. She was a chatty woman who said Mr. Lance Jack's father was normal, but his wife was a total psycho. According to her, the lady of the house, Blair Hickman, now Blair Ryder, was moody, irritable, and controlling. Besides cooking and cleaning, she forbade maids from leaving their designated area. The maid's room was like a birdcage. She treats us like slaves, the maid said. She is just a floozy clinging to old man Ryder, yet she acts superior, lecturing us. The maid despised Blair. From her stories, I pieced together the family dynamics. Lance Ryder, 55, owned a pharmaceutical conglomerate. His first wife died 5 years ago, and 2 years ago he married Blair, a woman 20 years his junior. Jack Ryder, 28, was Lance's son and heir to the company. Jack and Blair's relationship was terrible, practically fire and water. The maid said they never spoke civilly. Blair disliked Jack, and Lance doted on his new wife, straining his relationship with his son. To the maid, Jack was a pitiful son, bullied by his stepmother. But was that the truth? There was only one way to find out. I had to become a maid in their house. I went to the agency where the current maid had registered, bribing the recruiter with $3,000 to secure a job in the Ryder household. The old maid, eager to escape her birdcage, quit without hesitation. I took her place as the new maid. Luckily, I had worn a mask at the crematorium, so Jack Ryder had not seen my face. Now the real game began. The interview was straightforward. As I entered the Ryder home, Blair pointed to a watch on the foyer table, signaling me to wear it. Though confused, I put it on. While I was fastening it, Blair spoke coldly, pointing to an A4 sheet on the door. Your tasks are listed here. Follow the schedule exactly. Otherwise, stay in your room. I do not like being disturbed. I glanced at the paper, which detailed every hour's tasks. Except for grocery shopping, I was not allowed to leave the maid's room without a valid reason. Whenever I left the room to work in the house, I had to carry a phone. I frowned slightly, but said nothing, following the old maid to my room. The maid's room was about 14 to 15 square meters. Though small, it was well equipped with a bed, a small kitchen, and a private bathroom. In terms of amenities, it was one of the best maid's rooms I had seen. But the strangest thing was the surveillance camera inside. The homeowners seemed obsessed with monitoring maids. Blair told me to change and come out, then slammed the door. Once it closed, the outside went silent. The room was eerily quiet. I checked the window, it was sealed shut, impossible to open from inside. Suddenly, I felt suffocated. No wonder the previous maid quit so quickly. Her words echoed, "Working for the Riders is like being in prison." The next morning, I began work per Blair's rules. Daily schedule. 7 o'clock in the morning, prepare breakfast, then go to the market. 11 o'clock in the morning, return to cook. 12 o'clock noon, serve lunch, then return to the maid's room to eat and nap. I knew someone was watching me through the camera, so I tried to act normal. But the surveillance and bizarre rules made me more confident this house had secrets. Were they monitoring maids so closely just to avoid being disturbed? Or was there something in the house outsiders could not know, and could that secret be tied to my grandmother's death? During my prior surveillance, I had memorized Jack Ryder's routine. He went straight home after work, with no contact with other women besides colleagues. If so, as unlikely as it seemed, the woman in the car that day was not an outsider. All the secrets might be in the trash. Clearly, Blair knew this too. My success in becoming a maid was not just skill. During the final interview, there were 3 candidates. After the interview, Blair instructed me to take a trash bag to the outdoor bin. Inside was a sparkling gold necklace. I saw it but pretended not to, throwing the bag away. Later, I learned the other 2 candidates were more qualified. One picked up the necklace and returned it to Blair. The other gave it to Mr. Lance. Both were smart and wanted to seem honest. But Blair did not want an honest maid. She wanted a machine who followed orders without meddling, a thoughtless drone. And I was that person. After over a month at the Ryder house, I observed that Jack Ryder and Blair never even glanced at each other. At first it seemed normal. Every morning Mr. Lance and Jack left together at 8 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Lance always returned after 8:30 in the evening, meaning from 7 o'clock to 8:30 in the evening, Jack and Blair had time alone. But I saw nothing unusual. As a maid from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening, I was confined to my room like a prisoner. To find more clues, I began secretly checking the household trash at night. Only Blair's trash was suspicious. Jack's was minimal, mostly shredded company documents, some model figure boxes, and occasional cigarette butts. Nothing odd. Mr. Lance's trash was unremarkable, except for occasional Viagra wrappers. A 50-year-old marrying a 30-year-old, nothing surprising there. But something was not right between them. Almost every night, Mr. Lance personally prepared medicine for Blair to drink. It had a strong herbal smell. From their fragmented conversations, I gathered it was a tonic. One day, I secretly photographed the medicine residue and asked at a pharmacy while shopping. That is when I learned Blair's daily tonic was a liver and kidney supplement to aid pregnancy. Comparing it to their weekly menu, I confirmed they were trying to have a child. I asked the previous maid, who confirmed Miss Lance had been preparing the medicine for Blair daily before I arrived. That was strange. Blair was only 30, and Mr. Lance was so proactive. Why had she not conceived? I soon got my answer. In Blair's trash, besides cosmetics and hygiene products, there was ash every week. The ash was from completely burned soft plastic and paper. Since it was nearly incinerated, I could not identify it. I could only wait for her to slip up. Meanwhile, the surveillance team kept tailing Jack Ryder, hoping for new information. Finally, my efforts paid off. In my 3rd month at the Ryder house in Blair's trash ash, I found a tiny unburned paper scrap the size of a fingernail. It was the slightly rigid, like cigarette pack or medicine packaging, with only half a word visible. I researched all day, but found no clues. The next day, I took the scrap to a pharmacy near the Ryder house, but the staff did not recognize it. Just as I was about to give up, an elderly pharmacist called me back. "Young lady, are you looking for birth control pills?" I froze unprepared for this answer. She showed me a pink box of combined oral contraceptives, levonorgestrel and ethinyl estradiol. I realized Mr. Lance was making Blair take fertility supplements, which she did not refuse, but she was secretly taking birth control. Why did she not want to get pregnant? She did not want to have Mr. Lance's child. As I processed this, Henrietta called. Yesterday, he had followed Jack Ryder, who stopped at a pharmacy but left quickly. Henrietta, distracted by an argument with his girlfriend, did not report it immediately. He had just remembered and felt I should know. My heart pounded. I sensed I was close to the truth. I showed the pharmacy staff a photo of Jack Ryder, asking what he had bought yesterday. The young clerk started to nod, but the elderly pharmacist stepped in front, asking, "Why do you want to know?" I took a deep breath, pretending to lament. My husband is cheating. He must be buying birth control for his mistress. Please, if he comes back, do not tell him I asked. I am gathering evidence to catch him and kick him out penniless. The staff looked at me with sympathy and nodded. I left the pharmacy, tears streaming down my face. The woman in Jack Ryder's car was likely Blair. He was buying birth control for her, it was almost certain. They were having an affair. At the crematorium, I had overheard Jack's call. "Do not worry, our secret is buried with that old lady." The woman on the other end must have been Blair. Everything was clear. That day they were meeting in a remote suburb. Grandma passed by and saw something. To hide their secret, they decided to kill her. After all, she was just a rural, old lady. A little money could settle everything. But what did Grandma see? If it was just their affair, she did not know them. Why kill her? Could the truth be even darker than I imagined? As a child watching martial arts films, I often saw villains when their secrets were exposed, plotting to silence witnesses. Before acting, they would say, "Only the dead can keep secrets forever." Usually, the dead could not reveal secrets. But in horror films, it is different. After death, souls linger for 49 days, according to my village's customs. To help the deceased rest, we burn incense and offerings. But that day, the incense on Grandma's altar would not light. In our tradition, this meant the deceased had unfulfilled wishes, unwilling to leave, especially if they were still attached to their descendants. My father, clueless, cursed and called a medium to perform a ritual. The medium did not rush to cast spells. She placed chopsticks on the table, stood them upright and asked Lily Thomas, "Do you stay because you are attached to your son?" The chopsticks fell. She shook her head, stood them again and asked, "Is it your daughter-in-law?" They fell again. She asked, "Is it your grandson?" They fell. After a pause, she asked, "Are you unwilling to go because you died unjustly?" I held my breath. The chopsticks trembled, then stood upright. The medium frowned, turning to my father. "Your mother died unjustly. If you dare spend that blood money, your lineage will end." My father did not believe her, grabbed a broom to chase her out. The medium, unfazed, muttered, "If you do not believe, you will face retribution," and left. That night, my brother, playing games while heading to the bathroom, saw Grandma. She pushed him into the septic pit, twisting his ankle so badly, he lay curled up beside it all night. My parents slept soundly, perhaps under a spell, and did not hear his cries. The next morning, my father found him filthy beside the pit, screaming as if stabbed. Of course, I orchestrated it all. I dressed as Grandma, wearing her old clothes, a wig, and her glasses, telling my brother, "Only when you return the $600,000 to the killer will I rest. Otherwise, I will come for you every day, making you feel the pain of dying unrested." Terrified, he repeated it verbatim to my father. My plan was simple: make my father return the $600,000 to Jack Ryder, unsettling him. As expected, my father and brother panicked, rushed to Jack, threw the money at him, and fled. As I predicted, Jack investigated. Village rumors about Grandma's ghost spread, and soon he heard them. By a fortunate coincidence, he met the medium at the village gate. She looked at him and said, "Your aura is dark. You are haunted by an unjust soul." Soon after Jack faced trouble. After drinking heavily at a party, he went to the bathroom, opened the door, and saw a ghost, nearly breaking his leg. If everything went according to plan, the mysterious woman would soon reveal herself. Sure enough, the medium told me a mysterious woman sought her for an exorcism Blair. She paid $5,000, so the medium arranged a special offering burning session. The medium told Blair, "To truly send the spirit away, you must fulfill its wish." No one can hide secrets from a dead soul. To prevent Blair from backing out in fear, the medium added, "There are people guarding outside. No one will harm you." This was part of my plan. I placed a listening device under the ritual table to hear what Blair would say to Grandma's ghost. As expected, she addressed her as Mrs. Thomas. She knew Grandma. If even a fake medium could not hide the truth, then even ghosts knew who killed them, Blair. Blair continued. That day, Jack stopped to buy water. I glanced at his camera and saw photos he had taken of everything, probably as insurance. Seeing those photos made me so upset I wanted to die. Then I saw you smiling as brightly as you did in life. I thought, why is a poor old lady like you smiling? It was so annoying. Why did you appear at that moment? I had a brilliant idea. If Jack showed those photos to someone, what would he do? Would he not kill you? If he killed you and recorded it, we would be tied together forever, like bandits in ancient times, submitting loyalty proof before joining a stronghold. If I pushed you into his hands, if you died, he would never betray me. Hearing this, tears streamed down my face. My grandmother was killed by a venomous snake. I swore I would take revenge. In the maid's room under the camera's watch, I wrote my thoughts, forcing myself to stay calm. Jack and Blair seemed intimate, but their relationship could only exist in secret. The taboo nature of their bond was their fatal weakness. Jack was willing to kill to protect the secret for two reasons. First, he could not let their incestuous affair be exposed. From Blair's secret birth control use, she might not be a willing participant. Perhaps he was using her to prevent his father from having another heir. If exposed, Blair would go to prison, but more importantly, Mr. Lance would never forgive his son for touching his wife. Second, the cost of silencing was cheap. Grandma was just a rural old lady, report to the police, pay compensation, and walk free. And that is what happened. He paid $600,000, my father happily accepted, and the village praised Grandma's blessed death. $600,000 for a life for Blair's absolute loyalty for securing Jack's sole inheritance of the Ryder Empire. What a bargain. That is why he laughed so gleefully outside the crematorium. As for Blair, the foolish and vicious woman, she was even more deserving of death. She did all this to hold Jack's weakness, ensuring he could never leave her. Selfish monsters like them, to satisfy their desires, casually took an innocent old lady's life without a shred of remorse, continuing to enjoy their lives. Why? Because they had money. Because they could easily pay $600,000. Did they ever consider that to someone my grandmother was priceless? They stole my only treasure, so I would drag them to hell. Blair valued love. I would make her lose her pathetic love forever. Jack valued wealth. I would strip him of the Ryder inheritance. And after they lost what mattered most, I had an even bigger surprise planned. This feast of destruction was meticulously prepared, and I hoped they would savor it fully. Through observation, I deduced Jack and Blair were secretly meeting on the third floor. The previous maid said the third floor was Jack's private space, his bedroom, office, and model collection room. But when Blair joined the household, she saw his model room and claimed it, turning it into her tea room. Mr. Lance, indulgent of his young wife, let her take his son's space, relegating Jack to a dim guest room. This caused a huge fight in front of Mr. Lance, but Blair won decisively. I did not know when they started their affair. Perhaps they pretended to feud for Mr. Lance's sake, and it became real. From then on, Blair frequently visited the third floor, an area Mr. Lance never entered except for his son's model room, which Jack cherished most. He required me to clean it monthly. The model room next to Blair's tea room was the perfect spot for their trysts. The room's thick carpet pillows and soft blankets showed Jack had gone to great lengths to make Blair comfortable. During my monthly cleaning, I planted a listening device in a model, swapping it with an old one. Then I began my plan. While shopping, I asked Harper to get some long hairs from her sister, who had distinctive chestnut brown hair. The next day, I requested a day off, and as Jack left, I deliberately stuck a hair on his shirt. Sure enough, soon after he left, I heard an argument in the model room through the device. Blair confronted Jack. Who was that vixen? No matter how he explained, she insisted he was cheating. She screamed, "Hand over that tramp," after arguing. Jack lost patience, shouting, "Investigate if you want, just leave me alone." He stormed out. Blair, furious, smashed several models. Though the device was well hidden, I worried she would find it in her rage. Luckily, she was not crazed enough to destroy everything. Perhaps Grandma was protecting me from above. The next day, the tension between Blair and Jack was palpable. That morning, by chance or design, all three, Mr. Lance, Jack, and Blair, sat at the breakfast table at 7 o'clock in the morning. Unusually, no one rushed to leave. Mr. Lance frowned at Jack. "Do not show that grim face. If you do not like it here, get out. While you are here, follow the rules. Remember, your mother is the lady of this house." He called Blair Jack's mother, a grotesque, vivid farce. I saw Jack's face darken with disgust, while Blair looked smug. I wanted to stay and watch this incestuous drama, but I stayed calm, served breakfast, and left quickly. As I stepped out, I glanced back. Jack stood and left the table. The corner of my mouth curled. This was just the beginning. More unbearable things awaited. From my observations, Jack and Mr. Lance's relationship was already fragile. Blair's stirring could easily provoke Mr. Lance to reprimand his son. Even if she did not incite it, I believed Jack would not let this slide. Would he forgive her easily? I was eager to see. Blair did not disappoint. That evening, she was unusually cheerful, even dancing in the living room. As I served dinner, the speaker played "One Life, One Love" by Liu Quanding. She seemed immersed in eternal love, ironic. She was filth enjoying music, food, and love, while my kind-hearted grandmother could not enjoy a moment of the world's beauty. Was this fair killers lived in luxury, while the innocent died unjustly? I gripped the knife, slamming it into a watermelon, imagining it was Blair's head to quell my rage. Otherwise, I feared I would storm the living room and kill her myself. I reminded myself to be patient. Grandma was watching, surely guiding me to complete my plan. That night, I heard an angry door slam. Jack was back. I set the table and retreated to my room like a prisoner. 10 minutes later, a fierce argument erupted from the model room. That morning, Blair had gone to the Ryder Pharmaceutical Company and fired a chestnut-haired female employee, believing she was the other woman. When asked why Blair said, "I am the true mistress here," "Those vixens are just illusions." This terrified the company staff. From now on, who would dare get close to Jack? It seemed like jealousy, but in reality, Blair had put him in a more precarious position. My plan advanced another step. Jack drove to a remote area and by chance met a pregnant woman clutching her stomach, begging for help. Showing kindness, he stopped, helped her into his car and drove her to the hospital. Meanwhile, Blair, trimming flowers in the garden, received a delivery. Inside were 3 photos of Jack helping the pregnant woman into his car. From the maid's room, I saw Blair, trembling, summon security to interrogate the delivery person. After a commotion, she found nothing. After the delivery person left, she sat in the sun dejected. Of course, she found no clues. The photos were not sent by the delivery person. That evening, I called her to dinner, as usual. She had no appetite, poking at her rice, then suddenly asked, "Besides the police, is there another way to trace a sender's phone number?" She did not even bother addressing me formally. I feigned ignorance, shook my head and left the dining room. Then I returned, saying, "Social media accounts like Snapchat, Facebook, or Instagram are tied to phone numbers. If the number is registered, you might find the user." She did not suspect me, immediately set down her chopsticks, grabbed her phone, and started searching. Fool. Using the number, she found an Instagram account named Mini Todd. When she sent a friend request, the system notified her that the user did not accept requests from strangers. Of course, Mini Todd was me. I had bought a phone number, an Instagram account, deliberately leading her to investigate. I set the privacy to show only 10 photos to friends. I guessed Blair had seen them. Yesterday, I posted 3 photos: the pregnant woman's belly, Jack's car license plate, and his hand. That afternoon, Blair hacked down 2 rose bushes she had tended for 2 months. That evening, Jack returned at 8 o'clock in the evening. As he entered, Blair dragged him to the model room, waving the photos. "You bastard! I want a child and you are getting someone else pregnant. Do you think I'm a fool, Jack?" Furious shouted, "Where did you get those photos? Are you having me followed?" Blair denied it, screaming, "I do not need to follow you. Look at that pregnant belly. What did you tell me, that I was the only one? Where did you take her, to a remote place? What did you two do? Whose child is it?" Jack fell silent, perhaps stunned by her frenzy. She kept cursing him as ungrateful, saying she regretted loving him. Jack stood silently until she tired, then said coldly, "Think what you want. If you do not trust me, fine. You are having me followed, so my explanations are useless. I am leaving." Blair screamed, "You are not going. I need answers." Then I heard a loud crash followed by Blair's wail. "Jack Ryder, you dare hit me!" He must have pushed her down. The drama was at its peak, but at that moment, Mr. Sir. Lance's car headlights lit up the front yard. He had returned early. They could not continue arguing and had to disperse. Pert. I calmly noted it down my heart, as still as water. In the following days, Jack avoided Blair deliberately, returning later than Mr. Lance, sometimes staying out all night. He was clearly dodging her. Blair quietly monitored the Mini Todd account, seeing my posts about preparing for motherhood, like a receipt for baby bottles with the caption, "Daddy, I hope I will be as filial as you." 2 weeks later, she began waiting in the garage every evening for Jack to confront him, but he kept avoiding her. Then she stopped waiting, and instead flaunted affection with Mr. Lance in front of Jack, clinging to him shamelessly, even kissing him openly. She no longer hid it, while Jack acted as if he saw nothing, returning later than usual. Meanwhile, Mini Todd kept sharing the joys of impending motherhood. 2 months later, on a day when Mr. Lance was on a business trip, Jack left at 7 o'clock in the morning as usual. In the trash, I found medical waste. Blair had not destroyed it. That day, she sat in the garden from morning to night, not leaving, not speaking, not doing anything. It seemed she had realized something. At 10 o'clock in the evening, with red eyes, she dragged herself to her room. At 10:30 in the evening, Jack returned, went to dump the trash, and bumped into her. The trash bag fell, and 2 early pregnancy tests, showing 2 red lines, rolled out at his feet. Blair, eyes bloodshot, screamed, "Whose are these?" I feigned fear, stammering, They are Madam's." Jack stormed into the house. Watching his back, I thought, just one final step. Back in the maid's room, I put on my earpiece, waiting silently. Through the device, Blair was dragged into the model room, screaming in panic. "Are you crazy?" Jack shouted. "Crazy? Who is the crazy one?" "You sleep with that old man every day, and now you are pregnant with his child." "Happy now?" Blair denied it. "No, I have been taking birth control. I do not want to get pregnant, I did not mean to." Jack did not believe her, slapping her hard. Intentional. "You think I will buy that?" "Why now?" "When there has never been a mistake before, you think I am clueless. You got my weakness and deliberately got pregnant to monopolize that old man's wealth." Blair sobbed. "It is not me, I did it for you. I got close to him to make you jealous because I love you." "How could you doubt me?" Jack laughed coldly. "Love me? You married that old man for money, not love. What am I to you, your filthy toy? I am more disgusted than you are. You reek of him every time you are in his bed. It makes me want to vomit." Blair, furious, slapped him back, her voice desperate but weak. "You never loved me." Jack laughed maniacally. "I have had enough of you. You are trash, a nauseating pile of garbage. Every time I smell you, I want to puke." A deadly silence followed. Then Jack's voice turned grim. "If you want to live, get an abortion quietly. When the old man dies, I will not mistreat you. But if you resist or expose everything, what do you think he will do when he sees those photos? Will he welcome the bastard in your belly?" Another silence. Then Blair laughed coldly. "Jack, you know, when we killed Mrs. Thomas, I recorded it." A crash of objects followed with Jack's roar. "You wretched woman!" He seemed to strangle her. Blair's voice came in gasps. "Go tell your father if I die, you will not live peacefully either. If you are kicked out, what do you have left? Without your father, who will you sleep with? Go to prison and regret it for life." The sound from the earpiece weakened as if Blair was suffocating. After a long, terrifying pause, I heard chaotic footsteps. Jack ran out. The world returned to silence. I closed my notebook, writing the final lines. That night, I had the most peaceful sleep ever. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke as usual, prepared breakfast, and returned to my room as if nothing happened. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Lance returned, entered the model room, found Blair's body, and called the police. I was questioned. They asked if I heard screams. I shook my head. Per the homeowner's rules, I only cleaned from 11 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock noon, then returned to my room. I heard nothing. The police verified with the agency and previous maids, then let me go. I sighed in relief. Blair had been taking birth control, but I had swapped her pills with identical-looking multivitamins. Later, the police found 2 key pieces of evidence, explicit photos of Jack and Blair, and a video of Jack deliberately hitting my grandmother. 24 hours later, Jack was arrested while fleeing. He was charged with 2 counts of intentional murder for my grandmother and Blair. He would face justice. I had avenged her. After the case, the Ryder family collapsed. Mr. Lance left the mansion, which became a haunted house no one dared buy. I guessed it would be abandoned. A month later, I left for graduate school. That day I received my acceptance letter, also the 49th day since Grandma's death. Before leaving, I visited her grave, knelt and kowtowed. "Grandma, I have avenged you. Now I will study hard and live well for you. From now on, I will live happily. I know you are watching me from above."
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share and subscribe my channel.